Hey guys, Dreader here. It's the 1st of July 2013. Happy Canada Day. You may have seen my other video on that topic today. Anyhow, I want to get right onto this most interesting topic because this is the June Silver Eagle sales on the US Mint's website, and I've kept this window open since last night, expecting an update today. In fact, I will put here a little clip from my video recently where I talked about my predictions for what's going to happen today. So going off these numbers here, we have 3.275 million so far in June. Multiply that by 30 days in the month and divide by the day that that figure came out, which was the 25th, and it shows that we will end up in June with approximately 3.9 million ounces. And that is what we were expecting and what we were tracking all the way through. There are 5,000 ounces from May, of course, in these June numbers, and missing from the May numbers in order to for the Mint to not post a record May. But as I've shown many times, we have had a record January, April, and other months in the year as well, and it looks like June is also going to be a record. We're at about 3.3 now, and a few more days left to go until the end of the month, and it looks like it may end up about 3.9. That is, if they bother to update it before the end of the month. What I think they may do is just let this number float and not bother updating for several days, maybe not even until next week. And then in July you'll see like a big number like 600,000 appear here suddenly on July 1st. That's just how they roll. So let's give it a refresh and see which route they decided to go here. Will there be no change? In other words, they'll update maybe tomorrow. Will there be a change showing numbers added to June? Because there haven't been any sales yet this month yet. It's July the 1st in the morning, so there can't be any sales yet July. Or will they fraudulently add, I don't know, 600,000 or so? What are we going to see here? Let's have a look. Refresh. And... oh boy. Oh, well, what do you know? Sold 826,000 1-ounce Silver Eagles so far in July. In fact, in the first hour of sales. Woo! That's going to be a good month. Let's pull up a calculator and multiply that 0.826 million. It's hard to say with a straight face. By 31 days that are going to happen this month. So if this is today's total, it's not, but if that really were the sales for July 1st, and we're going to continue on having a July that does just as well as today, then we will multiply by 31 and get a total of 25 million ounces. Well, to put that into perspective, that's a typical year in sales. In fact, that's more than a typical year in sales. That's a very good year in sales. And this is the all-time month. January of this year was the all-time month with 7.5 million. It's not likely that this is really July's numbers. I think this is June's numbers, but you know, we can't prove anything. They have plausible deniability, and hey, maybe that's it. Maybe we are going to reach 25 million ounces this month, but I'm not thinking so. So there you have it. Wow, 826,000 from June is carried over to July's numbers, and I'd imagine gold is the same. Oh yeah, we've already gone through almost 15,000 ounces of gold this month. To put that into perspective, 57 was the total for last month, so we've already gone 14,000 out of 57,000? No, that's not right either. So they did hold over as expected, as predicted. And like I said, that's how they roll. Nevertheless, we can plug in that June number of 3.3 million and look at it. It's just below the record. They've managed to avoid the record here, just barely, here, just barely, and here, just barely, by carrying over data onto the following month. So here it made this month look a lot higher in April. There was no way that they were going to be able to hide this. This is the previous record here, and there was no way they were going to be able to hide that. So they just put some figures from here onto here. As you recall, you can go back and look at my previous videos on that. And here it was just close to a record, so they carried over about 500,000 to June. And then here in June it was just about a record, so they carried over almost 1 million ounces into July. And now here, look, this is the July 2010. That was the best ever year. This orange track's the best ever years. It's sort of a mix of 2010, 2011, 2012, and in one case, that's December, it was a 2009 figure. But yeah, just under 3 million ounces were sold in July of 2010, and so that's what we have here. Are we going to be able to get above that now? Well, we're already showing 25 million as the projected total for July, and as you can see, that's not going to fit on the chart. We're not going to need to adjust the chart's total though, because it's not going to go up there. My prediction is about 4 million for July. Of course, they have that 0.8 million that they've carried over from June. It's going to be hard to hide. So even if July's figures are only, say, 2.5 million right here, they screwed themselves, and it's going to end up being right about there once you add in that stuff from June. Well, hey, you never know. They can carry over even more for August. What's going to happen? August 1st, we're going to see 1.3 million. September 1st, we're going to see 2.5 million carried over. I don't know. But like I've said before, it is important for the Mint to not show record sales. The Mint, as I've explained before, is not interested in selling silver. They don't want to sell any silver. They don't want your fiat dollars. They don't care. They can make as many fiat dollars as they want. They want the silver and they want the gold. And even more than them wanting it, they want you to not have it. So it's in their interests to not show any kind of record. That makes headlines, that draws people in, that makes people say, why are these records happening? Should I be getting involved? But, we've managed to avoid the record here, here, and here now. So out of 6 months so far this year, only 3 have been records. Even though if you add up the totals for this year so far, we are having a record year by at least 30%. Strangely, only half the months have been records. For some reason. Thanks, guys. Doesn't really matter. We're going to have a record year, as I've shown before. There's nothing that can be done about that now, and now all they can really do is hide the monthly totals. Another question I've had in the past about this is, if the Mint can move figures, back and forth a little bit, what's to say, why don't they just say, sales are 0.2 million and just leave it at that? That's because we're dealing in a physical commodity here. They're talking about silver bullion. You can't make it disappear, and you also can't make it appear from nothing. They are heavily audited, and the Coinage Act of the USA is a very powerful piece of legislation. They do have to report, and they do have to sell. They have to sell silver and gold to the public, and they do have to report their sales, and they're heavily audited. So they can't just manufacture a number like 0.2 million and say, oh, look, no one's buying anything. Okay, bye. They have to report, but what they can do is be a little dishonest in when they report, and they can move things, a week forward or a week back, and make the headlines not quite so alarming, not quite so interesting, and keep focus off of precious metals. It is fiat dollars that have to shine. Precious metals, of course, are just a tradition. Anyway, guys, I'm going to have a full divergence chart done up in probably a couple of days. I might even do it tomorrow if there's time. I want to keep the rest of the video pretty quick, but I just wanted to announce my good fortune. I know a guy who knows a guy, and I managed to get a box of pennies, of face value, of course. I paid $25 for this, and there is $25 inside. But lucky for me, there is some copper in here. And I'm probably going to take the copper out and return the fiat pennies. I may even keep the fiat pennies because they're going up in value now. A collector will pay 2 cents for each penny now for some reason in Canada, because the Bank of Canada is just sucking them all up and melting them down. Even if they're steel, they're just getting rid of it out of circulation, and there's almost none left. So this is actually worth $50 just to buy it, regardless of the copper. But I am interested in copper, so I will put some of that aside for my kids. Just expanding my little mini garden patch here at the place where I rent, and dug up this chunk. It looks like some kind of ceramic or something. Not sure what it is or what it was part of, but I do know that this property was a farm about 50 years ago, and so this was all farmland and stuff. I did find a little bit of evidence of a fire pit. I guess someone had a campfire here or an outdoor burn or something. But the interesting thing about this little shard is that, I guess whatever it was made in Canada. And I think it's kind of cool, because when I saw that word, it was like, oh, that's interesting to find that on Canada Day. And quickly, an article I found in the Province newspaper talking about the financial situation over the past week or so, just sort of a summary, and for some reason they decided to talk about gold a little bit. They mentioned it here in the headlines. Well, they talk about gold more when it goes down than when it goes up. They like to sort of gloat that the fiat dollar is gaining in value and other things are going down in value, but just look at the tagline on this article. Gold prices have deteriorated steadily this year as the precious metal loses its appeal as a hedge against inflation and deteriorating currencies. Well, other than the fact that they used the word deteriorate twice in the same sentence, and the fact that a hedge against inflation and deteriorating currency is actually the same thing, who wrote this anyway? Certainly not anyone with a background in finances. What I want to mention really is that I don't think that gold has lost its appeal as a hedge against inflation. Gold will be a hedge against inflation until the end of time. And with the amount of fiat dollars that are being created out of thin air right now, why are we not worried about inflation? Why are we not worrying about the currency deteriorating? We're creating it from thin air. We're making more and more and more and more of it. It doesn't make any sense. But I pointed out that before. I just wanted to show this article and just show that, this is what they're saying to the sheep, the laymen of society. This is what people are reading when they want, they go to the money page of the paper and they want to learn about things. You're not going to learn much from something like that, when it's so wrong on so many levels. And lastly, I thought I would bring up a topic, doublespeak. This is something that came originally from the book 1984 by George Orwell, which I think was written in 1940s or so. And it was required reading for a while there in the 80s, at least it was when I went through school. I don't think it is anymore. But the term is seeing some recent interest, as is the term Big Brother, and actually the book 1984 is back on the bestseller list after a very long time off of it because of what's going on recently with the NSA, Edward Snowden, and all the revelations that the US is spying essentially on all of Europe, the UK, all of North America, and perhaps a lot of the rest of the world in terms of cyber surveillance and keeping metadata about phone calls, internet usage, website usage, emails, everything you do online and on your phone has been kept for about 5 years. And this doublespeak is sort of coming back into vogue, and I'm noticing some examples of doublespeak which really bother me, and I wanted to bring up 3 of them. One of them is the US is charging Edward Snowden, who is the guy who revealed that the US is spying, with spying. They're calling the person who accused them of being a spy, but all he did was receive information through his work. I mean, he worked for the NSA. He didn't spy on anything. They're calling him a hacker and a spy, but that's exactly not what it is. And doublespeak is evasive, ambiguous language that is intended to deceive or confuse. So you say one thing and you make it as though it means the other thing. So like, for example, love is hate, stuff like that. It doesn't make any sense. It's not true. In fact, it's wrong right on the face of it. And yet, you say it, and then the recipient believes it, at least in part, that just saying it and repeating it makes it sort of true, even though it isn't. So, the US is accusing Edward Snowden of being a spy, and they want to arrest him for espionage, for spying, when he didn't spy. They are the spies. That really bugs me. And another one is, I talked about it earlier in this video. Printing dollars is making them more valuable. So we're creating something out of thin air, and that is making all the current items in circulation currently, all the current dollars out there, it's making them worth more. So these dollars are gaining in purchasing power the more of them we make. So really all we need to do to strengthen the dollar is ramp up the printing. We need to make more. And it's not printing, of course. In most cases, it's just clicking a button. And so what we need to do is add 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 1,000 zeros on the end. And, we'll have $80 quadrillion each in our pockets. And they'll all buy even more than they do now. That's what's happening. But it's an example of something that just is the opposite of reality, and yet we're accepting it, and it's really happening. And the last one actually came to me today from Guild F40. You probably know him. If not, I'll put his link down below. He's a good dude. over in the UK, and he talked about this article. It's titled "Police Seize Possessions of Rough Sleepers," that's like, homeless people, in crackdown on homelessness. So it says here that the police are in a crackdown on homelessness. So to me, a crackdown on homelessness would mean that you are cracking down on homelessness. It seems straightforward, but that's what it means to me. And cracking down, of course, is cracking down on something is working against it, trying to get rid of it, for example. And homelessness is the state of being homeless. Duh. Now, how did they crack down on homelessness? Well, here in Canada, one way we crack down on homelessness is we try and get people jobs. Or at least if they're disabled or something, mentally ill, we try and get them services for that problem. And then they can, rejoin members of society and hopefully not have to be homeless and not have to live on the streets. But what happened with these people is nothing like that to kind of crack down on homelessness. What they did is they stole all their belongings. They took everything that they had. These people are the poorest members of society. They're people like you and I that have gotten less and less and less, and eventually they don't have a home, and they don't have an apartment, and they don't have enough money to buy that, and then they live on the street, or they live in parks. And these people, these particular people, chose to go buy tents with what remaining cash they had, I guess, and live in an abandoned area of town. It says that they were sheltering in an abandoned public bath for the night when it was cold. And so 9 people, including a man in his 60s, were seeking cover from a cold night in Redbridge and were stunned when their worldly possessions disappeared into the back of a police car. One of the men targeted pleaded with officers to be allowed to keep his possessions for warmth. The 30 or 40-year-old said the pigs were just taking the sleeping bags and chucked out everything. I asked to keep it, the food, they said no. So I grabbed as many things as possible, put them in a bag and ran. I mean, that's what I would do if the police came for the last stuff I had on earth. The last little bits of food and the sleeping bag keeping me alive. I mean, come on. That's not cracking down on homelessness. That's cracking down on the homeless. It sounds like the same word, but it means exactly the opposite thing. You're cracking down on homeless people. That doesn't do anything to crack down on homelessness. That just does something to hurt people. And it's theft. And these people, who are the poorest members of society and had almost nothing left, now have nothing. And that is the cops' way of saying, we have protected society. It's just sad. And it says here what the head cop said: the public rely on the police to reduce the negative impact, whatever that is. This includes the need for us to assist in the removal of tents and bedding from public spaces. If these people aren't members of the public, who are they? To become a member of the public, what do you need to do? Anyhow, it just really bothers me, the use of doublespeak. We're getting it more and more and more, and I think people should just be aware of it. Don't accept it. Don't play along with it. War is not peace. Love is not hate. And I'm going to stop ranting now and turn this off. Hope everyone has a great day. Talk to you soon.